Welcome back to the podcast. This episode is split into two very distinctive parts, which we're comprising of one long meandering of reflection and then tools and insights. So if you are new to the podcast and you don't give a flying about my experience or internal state and the stuff I've been kind of working through, then skip to the bit that I've labeled lesson, how to ensure we don't spend too much time in one particular mode zone, which is about strategizing your life, your calendar, similar to the way you would training so you don't get burnt out. If you are an OG and are actually interested in the more deeper reflective side of me, then listen to the beginning, which is much more raw and vulnerable. I hope you enjoy the episode. Drop us a DM, let me know what you think. Hello everyone, welcome back to the podcast. I was just about to record with a guest and unfortunately got let down. I guess this is a reflection on disappointment and control of circumstances. It's like this morning, my morning's gone so well, like followed all the things that would be conducive to a good conversation, getting out for a walk in the morning, doing a meditation, etc., cold shower, all that sort of stuff. And I did some meditation a short while ago, and I finished it, and I'm just like, oh, okay, like I'm feeling good. I had like 10 minutes to go, so I looked on Spotify, and what did I search? Brain stimulation. I just wanted so put that on, and there was a playlist. Brain stimulating music. Some of it was a bit cringe, but I had this one on called "Hanging Pictures" by Cynthia Garcia. I'll put it on my headphones, and it was like this piano, and it was just like, oh, like it was like it was touching all the different parts of my brain, like this full brain experience. And I felt really emotional. And I think it's going off a tangent, but I think I find myself in striving mode quite a lot of the time. With this podcast, work, high rocks, training for District L, CrossFit style competitions, fill in the blank. And I felt very grateful to have lots going on at the moment. And when you're in that mode of like getting things, it's obviously, it's highly, a word we use a lot on the podcast is dopaminergic. It's highly dopamine driven. And the thing is about those chemicals is like, I feel like dopamine can sometimes masquerade as serotonin, and serotonin is like that feeling that I was just talking about. It's kind of just like a more it's like a more full body dopamine, like whereas like pure dopamine, this is my bro science, by the way, I might be totally wrong here. If you're a neuroscientist, please let me know if I'm wrong. This is my thoughts. Dopamine's a bit more kind of, it feels a bit more localized. It feels like really like brain dominant rather than like in your body. I know it's almost like when you're able to wind things back, when you're able to decompress, when you're able to relax, when you're able to recover, it's almost like you come home to your true self, which is the soft, caring, gentle version of me. And the first thing I thought is, it was someone's birthday the other day. Why didn't you drop a card off? The birthday thing seems like an interesting proxy for like how like conscientious you're being. Like how much energy or heart are you willing to, like how much energy, heart, resource are you willing to divert to another party, and despite it maybe not being connected to like the main primary goal you're trying to get after. And the tension between those two things is rather fascinating. Like, what is that, and which version? Like, who is who is Jason? Is it like the hustling one? Is it the like wanting to get shit done, or is it like the calm, peaceful, loving, caring? My instinct is it's the latter, and then the other side is like it's almost like the ego, isn't it? But the ego's argument would be, if we don't get all this other shit done, you're not going to have any time to like think about other people, or you're not going to have the financial stability that will allow you to have time with your family and stuff like that. So it's this paradox. And I suppose the goal is how do we integrate those two things? How do we hold those two ideas, those two philosophies together? And like I heard something the other day it was talking about like the nature of consciousness and how we like don't fully understand it, and there's possibly like two kind of different brains going on. And yeah, I think I had another example of this recently where it's kind of similar, but I was not in a very good mood at like a family gathering. I've been just not in the best place a few weeks back, and one of my family members' relations has recently had a little baby, and they were like, "Do you want to hold the baby?" And I was kind of like, "Nah." No, I was like, "I'm in a mood. Don't. I'll hold it another time. Just today's not the day." And I sometimes get this, and I do find it very embarrassing. But sometimes I will just shut off in like public scenarios. I think public scenarios in where like I feel safe enough to shut off, if that makes sense. So if I'm with my family, rather than like I don't know, in a social event where you're expected, and then you slap on the face, put on the mask, and then disregard what your actual central nervous system is telling you. This is obviously leading into this potential for introversion versus extroversion, or introversion mask wearing, which I believe has been a big factor in my life, which I'm only now coming to realize. So I think probably the other night I was just a bit burnt out from lots of social occasions because I had a few on the bounce. And it wasn't rude or anything. I just said, look, I'm really sorry. Like, I can't mask it, but I'm just not feeling great right now. Like, I'm here. I love you, but I'm just not in the best place. So eventually, I picked up the baby. Like, I agreed to have this baby. And fucking hell. The shift in my, like, nervous system and everything was, like, remarkable. And I was just like, oh, the little baby. And I don't know whether, because I've never had this before, or sometimes when you've been past like a tiny little infant, you're kind of like, what the fuck do I do with this? Like, you don't want to drop it. You want to, like, oh, what do am I holding the neck correctly? Am I supporting all the rest? But like, none of that was there. Like, it was just, I was like, oh, little baby, and like this primitive instinct of caring for a member of my tribe just kicked in. And like, why would I be nervous about like holding this baby? It's like tiny little baby. It's fine. Like, I'm uh, like, I have the strength. I have the, like, it was just instinct. And I just transformed. Like, my mood went from like a 3 to like a 8 plus. And the plus is like this spiritual embodiment, like love, unconditional feeling of love. And yeah, it was just so lovely. And I think we are living in times where we are more disconnected than ever, more connected digitally, but more disconnected than ever physically. You know, I live alone. I spend a lot of time working from home. So like my touch interactions, the times I actually like touch another human being, like hug, or like, if you have a partner, you'll sit next to each other on the sofa, you'll cuddle, all that sort of stuff. We need that. And the lack of that is sometimes, I think, what you have to adapt, right? So you adapt to not having that contact, that social contact, and maybe that adaptation looks like the version of me that turns up, which is like, don't fucking come near me, I'm in a bad mood. Because like, literally, when I showed up at that, like, I'm a very huggy person. I'll go around everyone, I'll hug them, I'll like make them feel that I love them. And I didn't even want to do that. I was like, don't want to touch anyone. And I wonder now, and thinking as I'm reflecting, it's like a protective mechanism to divorce myself from all connection and go, I don't need this. I can't have it, therefore I don't need it. So I'm just going to kind of like curl inwards, coil, coil inwards, recoil. Fucking hell, we got there. And I don't know what the lesson is here, by the way, other than like, give me a baby to cuddle. But I just found it so magical. And I think, yeah, maybe like if you're listening to this and you feel a little bit like I do at times or whatever, and you don't have that connection in your life, or maybe you've been thinking like, I don't want children or whatever, or something like that, like, like, I don't know, maybe rethink it, because we need that connection. And what's that going to look like if you're someone who's like doesn't want children? How is that decision going to feel when you're 70, 80 years old and there is no one around you? Because I had the reflection that, probably a selfish one, but when my granddad passed away a couple of years ago, it was very beautiful that I felt very grateful that we were able to be with him at the end in the hospital. It wasn't perfect. Would have been nicer like at hospice or something. It wasn't perfect, but family were there. And I remember like looking around the room, and there's like his sons, his grandkids, his wife and my nana passed away a couple of years prior. And without children, if my granddad hadn't have had children, there's no one in that room. He's all alone. And obviously, like, wanting to have children for those reasons, for solely those reasons, is probably selfish and maybe not the point. But it's worth, I think, thinking about this, because, I mean, who knows? You might have loads of friends and that's not going to be an issue or whatever. But I just think like it's a risk to kind of think that's not something that you want and then later regret it. And obviously, some people aren't in the situation where they can have children, and for those people, I have all the compassion in the world. Of course, there are other options like adoption and fostering and stuff where you can kind of get the next best thing. What is the lesson here? What am I trying to tease out? Is I think we need to be more aware of the different of when we're in these different states. Like, are you in getting mode? Are you in like family mode? Are you in recovery mode, like relaxing? Are you in, I guess it's like these dopamine, serotonin. Yeah, are you in dopamine mode? Are you in getting mode? Are you in serotonin mode? Nature, family, connection, stuff like that. And how do we ensure that we don't spend too much time in one of those zones? There's another zone which is like cortisol zone, which is just stress, right? So that needs to be even less. But if you think of it like training in the gym, if we were doing like an all year round like training program and you wanted to be fairly well conditioned, you probably wouldn't have that many of these high heart rate workouts in. You might have like a little 10-minute finisher at the end of one, or you might have 1 to 2 a week. And then the rest of the time you're in like this other mode, this integration sort of state. And I think we can like map this across to life. So like, how often are you in like that almost like zone 5, that extreme stress getting mode, like in your work life and in your like general life? And how often are we in like recovery mode, and how often are we in like the bit in between. So cortisol, I think cortisol, like stress mode, is necessary because we need that to grow a little bit, need a little bit of discomfort. So we need to be ready for that and know that it may come at some point. I've had a huge experience with this week, a very stressful week with work. And I prepared myself for it on like Sunday night, spent some time reflecting, journaling. How am I going to show up tomorrow? How am I going to be non-reactive, adaptable, not taking things personally, etc. And the Monday went very well. But then I guess, wasn't as intentional on the Tuesday night, the Monday night, and the Tuesday I went into work, and actually I didn't sleep very well, which didn't help. And then that was a totally different sort of day because I don't think I'd primed myself for it. I ended up having a like extremely stressful day, and yeah, it was difficult. So 2 lessons there, I guess. Number 1 would be, if it's within your control, maybe don't do that. Like, don't have 2 really stressful days on the bounce if it's in your control. If it's not in your control, what can we do to mitigate it? So think of like the conditioning workout analogy. You're maybe not going to have 2 of those high heart rates days on the bounce because it's just hard. But if you had to do that, what would you do? If you had 2 high rocks races or 2 marathons or whatever, if you had them 2 days on the bounce, what would you do in between to set yourself up for it? You would get good sleep. You would reflect on how you are. You would prioritize recovery and make sure that you were ready for the following day. So yeah, and it makes me think. Actually, one thing I've been trying to do recently, so there's a little tool in here, I guess you might want to incorporate what I've been trying to do. So I've been looking at my calendar and like trying to, let's go back to the training analogy. So typically in training blocks, you would do like a 4-week block. And during that block, you would be doing like progressive overload, week 1, week 2, maybe a few more reps, 1 more set, something. And then week 3, you sort of like peaking in terms of your output. And then on week 4, you do like a little deload. So then you reduce the repetitions, you reduce the one of the variables. So you might be reducing volume, it might be reducing intensity. Yeah. And obviously volume can be split between sets and repetitions. I've gone like very training on this now, but just a bit of an overview. If you're not familiar with like basic like sort of like periodization blocks. So I started mapping this to my calendar and going like, okay, so week 1 is kind of like a amberish. Week 2 is kind of similar. Then week 3 is kind of red. So I know that if I've got a red like block in my calendar, I'm like, okay, so it's going to be quite intense that week. And then week 4, which is the deload, goes to like a more green, like it's a little bit more of a integration phase. And then I started looking at this for everything else that I was doing. So, okay, so I've got a podcast to do. I've got a important day at work with new starters and training and stuff. Or I've got a day working from home. Like, what kind of scores, what kind of color coding would I attribute to these? So it may be that you love going into the office or whatever, and that's kind of like maybe that fills you up a bit more. So it's more of a green activity, but it's knowing what is the cognitive cost and the nervous system load attributed to the things on your calendar. So I really think that doing that each week and looking ahead at the different commitments that you've got and being strategic. This is a word that's like always like center of mind at the moment. Strategic. So long-term thinking rather than reactive thinking. And looking at how you can plan out those weeks and months better to not get yourself in a total bind where you end up with burnout. Like this week has been intense, but I made sure that like this afternoon, after I've recorded and published, that I've got like half the day of just going out for a walk, chilling out, maybe catching up with a friend, and then I've got a competition tomorrow. So I'm like, I've scheduled in that time to make sure that I am able to recover, which is just what you would do if you were working with a coach for training, but you can do it with all of the areas of your life. So don't underestimate the stress response that day-to-day tasks, commitments will have, not just the stuff that you're going to be doing in the gym. So I realize this has been a bit of a weird episode and a shift from the usual thing, but I guess I'm trying to just mix things up. I'm trying to stay vulnerable. I'm trying to keep keep the story authentic as to like what I'm going through and what's going on. Feel like more than ever, like we just want realness, don't we? There's so many changes with AI and stuff, and I just want to show up as me. And if it's of interest, then great. If it's not, I don't really care. But the next episode is probably going to be a High Rocks one. I've got quite a few High Rocks ones in the bank. Notably the world champion Alexander Ronchevich coming out soon. But I'm trying to mix up not just High Rocks and not just like self-improvement episodes. I'm trying to get a mix of things to reflect like a more holistic, well-lived life that involves other things. We're not just like this pigeonholed into this one thing. Like, hey, you're the High Rocks guy. That's fucking boring. So I would much rather like put out a variety of content which will hopefully feel more rich over a longer time horizon. So I hope some of that might have been useful, or maybe just listening to how fucking crazy I am, you might just feel a little bit more sane yourself. So until the next episode, I hope you have a wonderful week. And if you enjoyed this episode, please do leave me a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. Thanks for staying to the end. Have a wonderful week.